Hey everybody, super excited to be hanging out with you today, morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're catching up with us. I am so excited. A lot of times people ask me, how does it work as a real estate agent to find an investor to work with, to have a relationship with one, and to not have it be just one deal? So today, that's what we're gonna be answering. My name is Rachel Adams-Lee. Many of you guys know me from Facebook, from different coaching and things, but I am a top 1,000 agent in the country for real estate. And this fine gentleman.
My name is Matt Aitchison. Everybody calls me Matty A. And I am a real estate investor, actually an ex-business partner of Rachel. And I have been a full-time real estate investor for the last 5 years, flipped over 150 houses, bought a ton of rentals, and really utilized the investing platform to grow my wealth, grow my business. But the way I've been able to do that is by having an amazing relationship with people like Rachel. And today we're gonna talk a little bit about how to pair those two relationships together in order to make it, one, a win-win, but also to make it where you guys can grow together, to where you can use the different skill sets, the different platforms, the different strategies that the two really parallel businesses can utilize one another to grow, increase not only your profits if you're an investor, but to increase your real estate revenue commissions as a realtor. We're gonna dive into that right now.
But before we do that, we're gonna take you guys back a little bit. I wanna tell you a little bit about our history and how our relationship has become what it is today. So about 5.5 years ago, Maddie and I started our real estate business, broke as a joke. People are like, oh, I'm paycheck to paycheck. I'm like, haha, I'm paycheck behind a paycheck, borrowing money from like family, friends, my nail lady, no joke. And you know, we started our business door knocking 200 doors a week, doing 3 open houses a week. No joke. I mean, literally, people are like, oh, I earned my blisters. I'm like, I had blisters. I have Band-Aids on my blisters. So we went from crazy hustling, working super hard, to realizing there's a way to work a little bit smarter and not harder. And one of the major ways that was finding a powerful relationship like Matt and I have, where it is a volume-based relationship. Matt is going to have a lot of properties that he's going to find. Maybe sometimes I find him the properties, right? He's going to flip them and then he's going to relist them. And if you have the right value proposition and the right communication, they're going to list with you. Let's talk.
So to give you a little bit of context to what does my business look like, right? And how may it apply to what you're doing. So I'm a full-time real estate investor and I've flipped over 150 houses in the last year, bought a couple of rentals every single year, because obviously it's great to make the vertical income of what you have to show up and grind for every day, but you want to leverage that into residual income and passive income streams. So the beauty of my real estate business is by being able to generate these leads through amazing realtors like Rachel, I am able to not only decide whether I want to flip them, I'm able to decide whether I want to hold some of these properties. So over the years, we've created so many different systems and infrastructure and brought people into the business in order to run those as seamless and stress-free as possible. Now, that's taken some time to do, and yet over time, it has allowed me to leverage myself out of some of these businesses. And you might be thinking, oh, you gotta have this massive team and all these people running in and out and it's chaos, but that's not necessarily the case. And I wanna tell you why. The fact is that we are in a heavily commission-based business, right? So you don't necessarily have to bring on all this overhead into your team. My team's actually very small, and through those systems, we're able to run as efficiently and productively as possible. So my team looks like having 2 admin who really run all of the operations and systems inside our office internally. Then we have a project manager who's out on site working with our vendors and our contractors and all of that kind of stuff. And then on top of that, we're able to utilize an acquisition manager who kind of runs through all the leads and looks at underwriting the deals and going on the appointments and making the offers. But the great thing about the real estate industry is you're able to utilize your network, right? We're in a heavy independent contract-based industry, and so you don't necessarily have to bring the overhead onto your team, and I like to run as lean and mean as possible. And so that's what my business looks like. I have my contractor relationships, I have my realtor relationships, I have my stager and my designer relationships, and then I have my little hub in here. So you don't need to run as big and large as you may think. You can run small, you can run efficiently, and most importantly, you want to run profitably.
So now knowing what Matt said, I think, okay, as a real estate agent, what is he looking for? Because Matt has people coming to him all day long with deals, right? He has off-market deals. He has, deals that he's got from his mailers, and I want him to work with me as his real estate professional of choice. So what that is for me is it's getting 100% clarity on the value that I bring to his business. So it's, first off, you gotta know your business before you can offer your value to someone else. Now, I've been doing this 5.5 years. We've got 15 people on the team. 5 of those are admin. Why? Because I wanna make sure that my I's are dotted and my T's are crossed. I wanna make sure that I can spend my time building relationships, negotiating contracts, netting my investor top dollar, and I'm not out there doing the busy work, right? I know my focus and I know my strength. Now, being a good real estate agent, it means knowing your scripts, it means knowing your objection handlers, it's having templates already created, it's working smarter, not harder, right? And when I think about Matt, I know he is looking for a real estate agent that's going to net him the most money because he bought this property for a certain amount, he has to put a lot of work into the property, but he's looking for a certain ROI, return on his investment, and I'm the agent to do that for him. So the biggest thing that I can add value to Matt is making sure that my listing presentation is super, super solid, you guys. I could give that sucker in my sleep, and sometimes I think I do, like, sorry, Ryan. But the thing is, 99% of the houses that are sold, they're found online, you guys. So I'm gonna give Matt a massive online presence. He's gonna be featured on 372 online sources. I'm gonna share that with him. I'm gonna let him know that I have a plan for listing his house. We have a 6-day listing solution, which I can't tell you, and it's why he's gonna work with me, right? Also, he knows that I'm gonna door knock around his property. He knows that I'm gonna circle prospect around the neighbors. Who do you know as a friend that might wanna move into the area as a neighbor? Obviously, you love this neighborhood. Well, some other people might too. So there's a lot of things that I do to be proactive about my business so that I am the real estate professional that Matt can't live without. And then it's not about the one deal, it's long-term. I am looking for a long-term relationship with Matt. I've said it once and I'll say it 1,000 times. Real estate, it's a relationship-based business. And then, by the way, I just happen to be in the business of buying and selling houses.
So when you're working with your realtor as an investor, you want to make sure that you're extremely clear in what you are letting them know you want to accomplish, right? In order for them to help you win, they need to know what you actually want to win at. So if you're a flipper, then you need to equip them with some of the research and the strategies that are from your side of the fence that they can utilize in their strategic market research in order to know how they can position you, whether that's negotiating, whether that's marketing, in order to win and net the top dollar when you go to sell the house or when you're going to purchase it, right? So you really want to be able to utilize some of your different skill sets and some of your resources to equip your realtor and that relationship in a way where they know exactly what you're trying to accomplish. The number one mistake I see most investors and realtors make where they either lose out on a deal or profit goes out the window is because they're not on the same page. They're not clear. And is our job as an investor, it's your job as a realtor to have that crystal clear clarity in what the end game is. So whether they're looking to wholesale it, whether they are looking to flip the house, whether they just want to buy it and then you want to know what kind of cash flow they're looking for, knowing the end game is critical because then you're going to know how to help each other win. That's what's going to lead to a long-term relationship, and that's where everybody's going to make money together.
So a lot of times as a real estate professional, we get phenomenal deals basically put on a silver platter for us. Maybe the financing fell through or there's too many repairs, and what are you gonna do with it? Well, you still wanna make that sale and you wanna help your seller out, so that's a phenomenal opportunity to turn to an investor. And one of the funnest things we get to do is walk a property and walk it together. Now, Matt will show up in like his tennis shoes and he's ready to do the dang thing. I'm usually in these suckers. Why? Because it's me. And it's really fun because we have a different idea when we walk properties.
Sometimes I gotta reel you in a little bit.
Well, I like a finished product, right? I'm thinking, what can I do to sell this property and make it look the best on the market? Sometimes though, I'm all about like a sparkly chandelier.
And I'm like, no, that doesn't fit the budget. So what you have to do is when you're walking a property, right, and we talked about being on the same page, every stage of the game, right? And so when we're talking about investing, if you're a realtor, you got to understand that when you're on the retail side of things, everything is bought and sold based on what? emotion,
Right.
the heart, right? When you're talking with investors, that's not necessarily the case. It's a black and white space. The numbers make sense or they don't make sense.
This is why our partnership didn't work. I'm like, I want to talk about feelings. He's like, let's talk about the bottom line.
So when we're talking about working with investors and you're a realtor or whether you're an investor, you need to make sure you're on the same page of what is the budget? What kind of condition is this house in that we need to get it in order to hit the profit that we want to make? Or if we're going to rent the house out, what do we need to do to get it in a rentable condition to where we can get it cash flowing? So it's all about the money at the end of the day. If you're a realtor, you got to put your investor cap on for a second, step into that space, understand the numbers, and if it makes sense, then we can put that fancy chandelier in there.
Yeah. I think a lot of times people are scared to ask the tough questions because they have the scarcity mindset that they're gonna lose the deal or they're gonna lose the relationship with their investor. And reality is, if you want to run your business and not have your business run you, you have to be willing to ask the tough questions. Now, it really does come down to, are you interviewing other agents? You know, how many houses have you sold? A lot of times I work with investors, right? And they're telling me that they're really experienced and they know everything that they're doing and they're just a really savvy investor, and also they tell me how much money they have. That's phenomenal. So you know what I do? I ask them to send me a copy of their bank statement. I want to see that they actually can put their money where their mouth is and they have the funds. I want to know if they've flipped properties, what does that mean to them? Do they have a construction team that they like to work with? Do they have a staging team, right? And if they can't answer those questions, it doesn't mean you don't work with them, but it just helps you understand the clarity around what kind of investor this is. Are they really an experienced investor? Because what I always tell people, I mean, really the reason I think investors work with me so often is because I know the language. I specialize in building your investment portfolio. And I can say that because Matt has sold 150 houses in the last 5 years. I have a lot of other investors that I work with. I know what they want. They want to net the most money, right? They want the profit, and then I'm the agent that can do that with them. And I always say this because it's phenomenal, and I think that it just kind of hits the nail on the head. You know, I want to be honest with you now so I don't disappoint you later. So being upfront, right? Being clear with the expectations and being willing to ask the tough questions, it's really gonna give you a step up.
Well, you know, and it's just like whether you were pre-qualifying a buyer to make sure that they are worth your time, you should be doing absolutely the same thing with the investor. And if you don't feel comfortable in that language yet, right, it's taking you some time to get comfortable in speaking that language. The more reps you get, the more comfortable you're gonna feel, right? So we have different tools and resources that we utilize in the beginning to follow scripts, right? Asking those tough questions is gonna help you weed out the ones that are a waste of time. That's gonna help you go and service and focus your time and energy on the ones that are really gonna be worth it. You guys can grow together, you guys can succeed together.
So Maddie, when you're looking to partner with a real estate agent, or when you're looking at potentially identifying the right property to flip or buy and hold, what is the number one thing you're looking for?
At the end of the day, it's numbers, right? So I wanna know, what am I gonna make? What am I gonna put in my pocket?
Right.
And if I don't know my numbers, I can't expect her to know what my numbers are and how to help me win. So you gotta know your numbers as an investor. You gotta be able to share that information with your agent. And most importantly, I wanna make sure that she understands that so she can market the property correctly, she can highlight the things that need to be highlighted properly, and that she knows when she's going in, because she's a pit bull when it comes to negotiating, right? That she has the leverage she needs to feel confident in the product that I'm giving her, and that we're gonna be able to hit those ROI numbers, because at the end of the day, we love working together, but if you want that to be long-term, it's gotta be who's gonna make the most money, how can we make that happen, and here's how we're gonna bridge that gap.
So just like when you're working with a seller, if it's, you know, a family who's loved their home and they're moving because they're now empty nesters, right? And what are they looking for? They're looking to net top dollar. It is no different with investors. It's just, I think of investors more of like a volume-based relationship instead of that one-off. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about the money, honey. You know, the number one reason that I hear people are frustrated with their real estate relationship is because they don't hear from them. I mean, I have to tell you that when I think about making my life easier, it's being proactive in it versus reactive. And what that means for me is communication. I am an over communicator because you know what? I don't want my investor calling me and saying, Rachel, what the heck's going on with this deal? I haven't heard from you. So what we do on our team is we set the expectation up front. First, I talk to my investor and I say, how do you like to communicate? Is it text? Is it email? And I'm like secretly praying that they say text message because that's my thing. And what we do on our team is we do something called Tuesday Update Day. What that means is every Tuesday, there will be a phone call that goes out to my investor with how many people came through the property, positive and negative feedback. I always share negative feedback because I want to be honest with my seller so he knows what's going on, or she, right? And then after I have that conversation, I also follow it up with an email because I always want to have a paper trail, right? And this is the thing. No one is ever going to be frustrated for you for reaching out to them to tell them what's going on. What will be frustrating is if they don't hear from you and they think that you're not on top of your job. Now, I choose, again, to be proactive about my communication versus reactive. And I know for Matt, like, you really appreciate that.
Well, especially when, from an investor perspective, if you're an agent, you're trying to service your investor client, the great opportunities, they don't what? They don't stay around for very long. So you really have to be on top of your game. You have to set that standard with your investor clients, and vice versa. You expect me to be able to communicate to you. If you're gonna be working your tail off to go out and find me an investment opportunity, you wanna make sure that I am able to get you the information, to get you the communication that you need to go out and do your job at the highest level. So it's a two-way street, but setting that standard up front and getting the buy-in, getting clarity and going, hey, this is our expectation here. We both on the same page? Yes, that's the recipe for a winning communication and relationship.
And the other thing I'll say too is when you and I started working together and we specified you are the investor now and I'm the real estate professional, we actually had a conversation of when you have a house that you're identifying that you want to flip, I tell him that I will get him comparables for that property in 24 hours. 24 hours, you guys, and he knows that that is the standard. So like he said, deals come and go. I don't want him to lose out on a deal because I also know that's another listing that I could lose out on. So what we do is we have a 24-hour standard turnaround time. He sends me the property, I send him what it can resell for, and away we go.
A great book that any agent and or investor can read is Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott. One of the amazing takeaways of that book, and we constantly talk about it and has strengthened our relationship and how we work together, is the conversation, the ones that you are having and the ones that you aren't having are the relationship. So if you want to fill that gap, if you want to strengthen the bond between you and your realtor or you and your investor, having those conversations, the good, the bad, the ugly, but having those conversations and setting that standard, putting the precedent on that this is an important part of how we're going to win together, you got to have those conversations. So if you want to build an army of realtors who absolutely love working with you, that never want to take a deal elsewhere, what's the best way of doing that? Making it rain,
Make it
right?
rain down money, honey.
You want to make sure that you overpay them, and this is where so many people are short-sighted, especially from the investor perspective. A way to speak the language of a realtor is to get them talking about more transactions, more sides, and at the end of the day, more commission income. And the way that I, as an investor, am able to do that is I overpay my realtors. So not only are they going to get the commission on the purchase side, but I'm going to pay them a little bit of a bonus on top of that. And not only if I relist the house with them, I'm going to pay them a full listing commission. A lot of investors are short-sighted and they're always trying to penny pinch, and that doesn't get you excited about coming back and working with that investor. But I can tell you this much, when I overpay you, who are you going to bring your next deal to?
Well, I'm going to bring my next deal to you, and I'm also going to know that, you know, as long as our relationship is as strong as it is, I will also refer other real estate agents to you to list their properties, because you know what? When you have an abundantly based mindset, you are okay with, I want to grow Matt's business as big as he can. I want him to be successful. I want him to be my cheerleader. And what happens is that when I have my business, you're the same way. So Matt will, you know, if he has someone who wants to sell a house, he'll send them to me, because it's like, he knows that it's a win-win relationship, and you can't have scarcity in this. You have to know at the end of the day, we all have the same goal, which is supporting each other. And I mean, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, well, you want each other to grow, because as the pie gets bigger, everybody wins, right? As the tides rise, all the ships in the harbor are rising with it. And so that's where this abundance-based mentality of whether she wins on a deal, but I don't necessarily win on it, or vice versa, we know that as things continue to expand, we're able to really support and serve one another in those relationships. So overpaying, you have to think long term. And that's one thing that Rachel and I have always talked about is at the end of the day, this isn't a 1 month, one deal, 1 year type of relationship. If we're gonna be doing this for the rest of our life, we wanna make sure that we are looking at the lifetime growth, the lifetime opportunity, and ultimately the money over a lifetime can be infinite, right? So talking about abundance-based mentality of looking at the long-term, monetary and just opportunity-based incentives that come from those relationships, think long-term, overpay your people, give them more than what they deserve, and ultimately you're gonna get that in reciprocation. Thanks so much for watching today's video. The reason why Rachel and I do this is because we love the real estate industry and all of you. And whether you're a realtor, whether you are an investor, there are so many different niches, so many different ways that you can create more income and grow your wealth as a real estate professional.
And you guys know, we wouldn't be us if we didn't leave you with something that you could build your business with, a tool. So if you guys text the number on your screen, what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually give you a copy of our investor and buyer questionnaire. A lot of times those tough questions we talked about, you're not gonna know exactly what they are. So if you text the number on your screen, we're gonna leave it for you. Why? Because we love you.
So that wraps up today's video. If you guys want to ask any questions, you got comments, feel free to leave those below. We will circle back around, we'll answer those. Keep the conversation going at the end of the day. And our social media handles are right here. We look forward to connecting with you guys soon.
See you later.